Hey y'all, today I'm going to make some homemade brownies for you. This is a recipe that I made when my boys were small and throughout their time growing up here at the house. So we enjoy brownies. I mean, who doesn't? But this is a very easy, made from scratch homemade recipe. So I'm using the recipe that I have in one of my old church cookbooks. Now let me tell you, these old church cookbooks, and this one came from the church that I grew up in at Wallace Ridge Baptist Church. These are treasures. These recipes are just treasures to me. And if you look through the pages of this book, you'll see that, you know, it's got splatters, they're aged. I've probably had this book over 30 years, I guess. Well, yeah, probably 30 years. So anyway, I love to look through the old classic recipes is what I call them, and get some good recipes. So sometimes I'll go back to these old cookbooks, and today that's what I'm going to do. I'm making some made from scratch brownies. Super simple. So I've got all my ingredients together, and one thing I learned early on with my baking is it's so much easier to go ahead and gather your ingredients, measure them out, and then you can just put it together. It's much easier. So I'm going to start with this recipe calls for some melted butter. This is 2 sticks of butter and half a cup of cocoa powder. And I have melted the butter and stirred in the cocoa powder and let it sit for just a few minutes to let it get cool, sort of to room temperature. And then the next thing we're gonna do is add the eggs. Let me beat those just a little bit, just to break up those egg yolks. This is 4 eggs. I'm gonna add that to my bowl. And to that, I'm going to add 2 cups of sugar. This is just white granulated sugar. And I'm going to take my spoon and stir that together. This is going to come together pretty quickly. So once the eggs and the sugar are combined, you want to add your chocolate mixture, which it's cooled down a lot. You don't want to cook the eggs, so that's why you want the butter to cool down to almost to room temperature so it doesn't scramble your eggs when you put it in there. And I'm using a rubber spatula just to get all of that chocolate goodness out of the measuring cup. I'm using Dutch pressed chocolate today. That's beginning to be one of my favorites to use as far as cocoa powders go. And then I'm going to stir this in. It's got a good dark chocolate color to it. You can see it's pretty easy, coming together pretty easily. And then the next thing, it tells me to add the flour and the vanilla. And so this is 1.5 cups of self-rising flour. You know, when I was growing up, and a lot of the recipes my mom and my grandmothers used, they used self-rising flour a good bit. So some of these older recipes use self-rising flour as well. So, and it really just keeps you from having to measure out the salt and the baking powder or baking soda that that the self-rising flour contains. Okay, you know, you can't sift flour without making a mess. I'm gonna stir this in. Hopefully, I won't get too much out on the countertop. You could do this in a mixer. You could do it with a hand mixer as well, or a stand mixer. But it comes together pretty quickly and easily. Just stir in my hand. Let me get some more of that flour back in that bowl. There's some variations that you can do to brownies. You know, there's all sorts of brownies, and I have several different recipes that I use. But this recipe does not call for peanut butter, but I'm gonna put peanut butter in it because I like the taste and the flavor that the peanut butter gives. Okay, so I'm gonna put my vanilla, and that'll give a little bit of liquid in it. And oddly, this recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of vanilla. That's because there's so much of that chocolate in there. It's gonna help give that a flavor, a good vanilla flavor. We'll stir that just a little. Vanilla smells so good. Okay, and then to that, I'm going to add peanut butter. This is a creamy peanut butter, and this is my Pampered Chef measuring, it's a measuring cup, but it's used for, you can use it for solids or liquids, and it gets every little bit out. See, I just pushed it. Let me get it set again. I just pushed it. I don't know if you can see that. And I got every smidgen of that peanut butter out of the container, and it makes it easy to measure out things that are thick. Peanut butter, mayonnaise, butter, softened butter as well. Okay, and to this, I'm also going to add some peanut butter chips, about half a cup of that. And then I'm also gonna add some chocolate chips. So we're going like double mocha and peanut butter with these brownies. Now this recipe does include, in the book, it includes pecans, or it says pecans or walnuts. You can do either one of those, and I do like nuts sometimes in my brownies, but today I'm just opting for brownies without the nuts in it. Okay, that looks like it's mixed well together. Stir one more time, get all my flour, and then I've got my pan already sprayed with nonstick spray. I'm gonna pour it in. Oops. This is gonna bake in a 350-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. One thing about brownies is you do not want to overbake them. If you're like me, you like kind of like the fudgy brownies, you don't want them to be dry. So if you have to err on the side of a little bit less time rather than a little bit more time, then that's what I usually do as well, so that you don't overbake your brownies. Nobody wants dry, crumbly brownies. I like them to be kind of fudgy. Maybe that's why I have added the chocolate chips, peanut butter, and peanut butter chips. Okay, I'm gonna get that spread out evenly. I've got my oven preheated to 350. There's my pan of brownies. I'm gonna go bake it, and I'll see you back here in just a minute. Okay, so the brownies are out of the oven. I had some company come by right when I pulled them out of the oven just a few minutes later, so we got to sample and I got to share with my visitors the fresh brownies. So here's what they look like. It's a little bit fudgy, but a little bit almost cake-like as well, with the peanut butter chips and the chocolate chips. So I'm gonna let you see a little close up. That's what the pan looks like after we have already devoured a few pieces. And let's see, all that's left is this little corner piece as that we've already cut. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the brownie video, and you see how easy it is and simple it is, and hopefully you can try to make this on your own as well. Enjoy. Thanks.